11 life-changing inventions that were totally accidental. Every day, we use products like microwaves and boxes of matches to make our lives easier. But believe it or not, these ingenious inventions that allow us to live out our lives hassle-free were not the product of trial and error, but were created entirely by accident. Number 11. The microwave oven. Percy LeBaron Spencer was working on magnetrons, high-powered vacuum tubes that generate short radio waves called microwaves, when he accidentally discovered microwave cooking. The engineer was doing his job as usual when he noticed that the candy bar in his pocket had melted. Quickly, Spencer realized that it was the magnetrons that were causing this phenomenon. By 1945, he had filed a patent for his metal cooking box powered by microwaves. Number 10. Chocolate chip cookies. It's hard to imagine a world without chocolate chip cookies, but the delectable dessert wasn't actually invented until 1930. On the day that the cookies were created, Ruth Graves Wakefield, co-owner of the Toll House Inn, was preparing some chocolate cookies for her guests when she realized that she was out of baker's chocolate. Thinking on her feet, Wakefield decided to chop up a block of Nestle semi-sweet chocolate, assuming that it would melt and spread evenly throughout the batter. Instead, what came out of the oven was the very first batch of chocolate chip cookies, and modern dessert was never the same. Number 9. The X-ray machine. On November 8, 1895, physicist Wilhelm Conrad Röntgen was in his laboratory in Würzburg, Germany, experimenting on a vacuum tube covered in cardboard when he noticed a mysterious glow emanating from a chemically coated screen nearby. Confused and intrigued, he named the new rays causing this glow X-rays due to their unknown origin, and after playing around some more with the new rays, he discovered that putting his hand in front of the glow allowed him to see past his skin to his bones, thus leading to the world's first X-ray. Number 8. Super glue. Back in 1942, Harry Coover was looking for materials he could use to build clear plastic gum sights for the war. But what he discovered instead was a chemical formulation that stuck to everything it touched. However, his discovery was rejected because researchers didn't see a need for such a sticky formula. And it wasn't until 1951 that the same formula was embraced and repurposed by Coover and fellow Eastman Kodak researcher Fred Joyner as superglue, as the patent reads. Number 7. Potato chips. One of Americans' most popular snack foods, the potato chip was invented in 1953 by George Crumb, a chef at the Moon Lake Lodge Resort in Saratoga Lake, New York, when one of his customers complained that their French fried potatoes were too thick and mushy. As legend has it, Speck's solution was to thinly slice and fry some potatoes until brown, and the patrons loved what was to become the first ever batch of chips. Number 6. Champagne. Because they lived in such high altitudes, the monks of Champagne had plentiful access to all the best grapes. The problem, when the temperatures plummeted in the colder months, the fermentation process on the wine would stop temporarily, and when it began again in the spring, There would be in excess of carbon dioxide inside the wine bottles, which would give the wine unwanted carbonation. In 1668, the Catholic Church decided that it was time to handle the situation, and so they brought a French monk named Dom-Pierre Perignon over to fix the fermentation problem. However, by the end of the 17th century, people had decided that they actually enjoyed this drink, and Perignon's task thusly changed into making the wine even fizzier. Eventually, Perignon developed the official process for making champagne known as the French method, crowning him the inventor of the celebratory sip. Number 5. Chewing gum. Though variations of chewing gum have been around since ancient Greece, the gum that we know today wasn't invented until the late 1800s. It was then that an American inventor named Thomas Adams stumbled upon the chewy treat, but only after first trying and failing to turn chicle, the substance that gum is made out of, into rubber. Number 4. Matches. In 1826, chemist John Walker discovered what are now matchsticks when he accidentally scraped a stick coated in chemicals across his hearth and found that it caught fire. Walker's friction lights, as he called them, were originally made out of cardboard, but eventually he switched over to using wooden splints and sandpaper. Number 3. Vaseline. Excited about the possibilities of what could be made with petroleum, 22-year-old chemist Robert Augustus Chesebro decided to head to the town where the product had been discovered to play around with it a bit. While there, Chesebro observed that the men drilling the petroleum would use a byproduct of the process on their skin to soothe and heal cuts and burns, and he turned this observation into the product known today as Vaseline. Number 2. The ice cream cone. Today, ice cream fanatics have a choice between enjoying their treat in a cup or a cone, but that wasn't always the case. According to the stories, it wasn't until the 1904 Street Louis World's Fair that someone came up with the idea to spin a wafer-like waffle into the shape of a cone. And this idea was birthed simply out of necessity. When an ice cream vendor at the fair ran out of dishes to serve his ice cream in, the vendor next to him named Ernest Hemingway came up with the idea to shape his waffles into cones as vessels for the frozen treat. Number 1. CocaCola. The man who created the syrup for Coca-Cola was not a chef or even in the food industry. Rather, the soda's inventor was a pharmacist by the name of Dr. John Stiff Pemberton, who was seeking to create a cocaine and caffeine-filled alcoholic drink that people with chemical addictions to drugs, including himself, could use to wean off of morphine and other drugs. However, when Prohibition hit, Pemberton was forced to take the alcohol out of his formula, although the cocaine remained for decades, and thus the first bottle of Coca-Cola was made in 1886. Did you learn something new? Please drop a comment below. Don't forget to follow our channel for more content like this one.